edition of the most underrated news station on cable. To start off today's segment with a bang, we are going to dive deep into a topic that not many people associate with the news: philosophy. If you are or were a high school student from the Americas, chances are there's a 99% chance that you have at least some exposure to this particular subject.
Some of the most famous philosophers that you have most likely read about have been acting rather irrationally, to speak, and today stereotypes surrounding and definitely going to be dispelled. Juan Jose is at college debate right now. Jose.
Yes, good morning, Camilo. I am currently standing in Leiden University, watching three famous philosophers, Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz, fight to death in the so-called ultimate showdown between the old and new. It's the first session of the Wonder Everything Club, formed a week ago by some freshmen. Let's see what they have to say.
Okay, participants, here is today's question. Do you believe in God? And if you do, who is He? You have 10 seconds to think of your response. Okay, time is up. Descartes, you are up.
Okay, here's my take on the subject. As you all know, I'm an imperfect being, and I live in an objective reality. In other words, everything that exists is independent of the mind. I know that perfection exists, and there has to be a perfect being. Additionally, you can say that I'm less formally real than the reality of perfection, and there has to be a perfect being that is independent from my idea of a perfect being. So, try to top that.
This is certainly far from the truth. There is not such a thing as a perfect being. Only a universe exists, and God is that universe. There is no divine being that we can pray to. There is not such a thing as a being that always takes care of us, watch over us, punish us, or reward us. He is the universe, and we have to understand it the way it is. We are unable to change how it functions, and as a human beings, we have to adapt. And if we do, we are able to participate in eternal
What
totality.
makes you think that you can talk about God if you are an atheist? You just don't want to admit it. I agree with Descartes' way of thinking, in that there is such thing as a perfect being. One needs to show that it is possible for such a being to exist. That it's possible for all perfections to coexist in one being. You need evidence. If existence is part of the essence of a thing, then it is a necessary being. And if it is possible for a necessary being to exist, then a necessary being does exist.
I already proved that God exists.
Then where's your evidence?
You guys sure are supportive of the supreme being that apparently exists?
Dear God, literally.
Hey, bro, are you okay? No. Hey,
Okay.
but are you
Call for emergency.
But something happened to you?
Yes.
Are you sure? Hey, my car. Hey, bro, who's taking my car? Hey, bro, stop. Take my car, okay? My cell phone, bro. No, come back, bro. Come back. Ya volvimos, chalo.
Breaking news! I'm just outside the place where a 2019 Toyota Hilux was reportedly stolen. Tell me, Jose, what exactly happened?
Well, there was a bicyclist riding down the street when the driver of the Toyota Hilux accidentally ran him over. He got out of the car to attend the cyclist, when all of a sudden he saw that the car was gone. Same as the cyclist.
Were there any clues that help us identify their motives?
Just 20 minutes before seeing the whole thing play out, I saw two suspicious looking people walking down the same street. I'm not exactly sure if it was them, but I recognized them from my philosophy class. One of them is George Berkeley, and the other is Blaise Pascal.
Do you know anything about them?
Well, Blaise was known for his pessimism and overall unhappy state. He was often sick and ranted about the horrible state of the human race. He thought that us, humans are so narcissistic that we are never going to accept our reality, which that we are guided by our egocentrical and immoral desires.
What about the other fellow?
He was weird. He threw that everything is an illusion.
How so?
I often hear him talking about metaphysics. He supports the idea that everything that exists either is a mind or depends on a mind, its existence, and that matter doesn't really exist. He called himself an idealist, an immaterialist, and through that, ordinary objects as known are nothing but collections of ideas.
Well, like they say, to be is to be perceived. I'm guessing this sort of ideas gave them a sense of immunity, since they believe that our world basically doesn't exist, and that humans are 100% flawed. It is possible that they believe that our world doesn't really matter or has a purpose, thus they do whatever they want.
Pretty interesting, huh?
But half the time is used, and I want to say thank you for tuning into this special edition.
Even though our world is spiraling out of control, and even philosophers who are known as some of the most brilliant people to ever walk through this earth are engaging in some odd activities. However, this is exactly what philosophy studies: our existence on this planet, what it means, our knowledge and values, and how to apply them, the complex structure of our minds, and our power to reason and reflect. The aim of philosophy is to try to fill the gaps and find the answer to the questions that have confused us for many generations. Our news stations, even though it doesn't have any funds, tries to bring the studies of philosophy to the masses and apply it to our modern world.
If you have any questions, make sure to call our philosopher hotline.
And always remember, our reports may not last forever, but our ideas do.